Hi everyone, welcome back to another 15-minute piano lesson with Pianostics. Today we'll be looking at the opening movement of Franz Joseph Haydn's Sonata in E minor, Hob.64. This is the first Haydn sonata I've learned. I competed a lot with it. I love how he deals with humor in this work through the fermati, these long pauses that we can shorten or lengthen depending on the mood that we'd like to create in the moment. But don't be fooled by its minor character. There's a lot for comedic relief in this work. And so we'll be speaking about that and a few other points in the game plan. But let's first hear what the movement sounds like. That's the first movement of this E minor sonata, not playing any of the repeats, but just to give you an idea, a rough sketch of some of the possibilities that we can achieve in interpreting this work that really bounces between major and minor. We sneak along with very, very different articulation in each hand. Usually when he's got slurs and legato indicated, for example, in the beginning, in the right hand, he's given us the opposite kind of character. These look like, in this score, they look like little accent marks, but for me, I just consider those to be more short staccato. And so they move along. And the right hand kind of provides a little scooping action, a good juxtaposition there. So in my first point, consistent energy, it's just an overall kind of rule in Haydn that there's energy everywhere, and the excitement and this kind of joie de vivre in this music is so alive. And to even drop it for one moment, we should always be thinking about if we're coming down from a high, coming down from a forte, where are we leading towards from there? We're not kind of giving up our energy. If I play from here, I'm immediately on to the next thing. This 3-bar growth, and then this growth. And even when I've arrived here, I have another thing helping me in the left hand where it comes in. So I've got this kind of upward projectile, and then again supported by the left hand. So I'm always looking, even though I may have a hairpin coming down here, there's something new building from here. There's going to be something, even in the silence that we have, which I love to sometimes elongate longer than you would almost think, so that you're kind of on the edge of your seat wondering when the theme is going to come back. That kind of spontaneity in just delaying a little bit so that he writes fermata, but if we play it just as it's written, that kind of calculation doesn't really give us anything to think about, really. We're just kind of continuing, and go. There's nothing really inventive about that, and it would defeat the purpose of him inserting these fermatas in many, many places where you wouldn't think, but because they're there, it's just a little bit extra. And our active thinking about actually where to start is going to help us out with the idea of the consistent energy. When something is crescendoing, and for example, we've got this last line. I like to even go further. And then when I have the repeat, which I didn't do, then I have another opportunity to push the energy in a different way. And if I'd like to, I can create a bridge of dynamics coming down a little bit from that forte, going into the second section. Consistent energy found in this development section, where we have the same thing over and over and over again, is going to require some careful planning on our part of just where we'd like to go and why we can't kind of drop the ball in the middle, because it will sound too redundant, too repetitive. Already, I've lost even interest in playing it. And so if we start and make these little places to work towards. Now I'm growing again. And then surprise. Sorry, I missed the page turn for you there. But yeah, so then surprise into the forte. So this careful planning of the dynamics will help to keep that energy up, and using these fermatas in the way that they're placed to extend or even shorten or go ahead to the next phrase is something that keeps excitement within the work. And it's something that you can't really do in Mozart, for example. You certainly don't do it in Beethoven. I think it's something that's very, very central to Haydn in these sonatas, and it's a lovely thing to do. So the second idea is kind of connected in with this, finding humor in fermati, in terms of that we can use fermati to help us or create an interesting, spontaneous moment of silence, that we're kind of catching our breath, and that helps the energy, as well as finding the humor. elongating this phrase and then even having some silence afterwards. It's just not something that's really been done in this time, and so it's very refreshing, and it does add a little bit of this comic idea in a piece that is overwhelmingly in the minor key. The third idea is varying the repeats, and that's something that mostly I would be focused on doing this in works of Bach, where I have a movement of a suite or a partita, and I really want to focus on articulation, changing up the articulation while I'm repeating, and just having the whole idea of my phrase structure and where everything is going. I want to have that completely in a different direction. We can do the same thing here as well as the lengths of the fermati. So if I start... So the second time, just one possible thing, maybe not to the extremes, but as a consideration. One thing I love to do is to change the trills. So instead of this for the first time, I want to do something a little bit different. And so to connect the A's with the G's and the F sharps, I actually had a little turn. Or even a little turn there at the bottom of the page. So think in the same way as Bach, whereas you would add some embellishments. There's plenty of opportunity for us to shake up the articulation, the length of the fermati for a different effect, and overall, in addition to dynamics changes and small tempo changes or rubatos here or there, can be a really nice thing to do. Then lastly, practice spontaneity, which kind of puts everything together using all of these different elements. This is in Presto. I played this a little bit faster than I used to play it. And if you play it perhaps a little bit slower from the second repeat here, from the second section, things might be a little bit differently. And I'm going to try to play as differently as possible from the first time I performed it at the beginning of the lesson. So here was a little bit slower. I really paid attention to the 16th rests here and tried to connect everything a little bit more. And that may be something that you end up liking, something that you decide that you want to do, perhaps just for, the first four. And then once you come back here, you want to do something else for the next four beats, or next four measures. We also have different ways of kind of pushing out the phrase here, where we've got the staccato markings and the legato markings at odds. One way is to do this crescendo that we have here, and then perhaps the second time, since everyone is going to be expecting that, I like to do the opposite. And that's a better connection to the piano when we come back, that kind of dynamic marking. So you can do that to help ease the juxtaposition between sections, to help us get into a new section as well. And then also at the end here, there are many different ways of doing that, which you can practice, trying to bring out maybe perhaps the left hand more. There's a really hearing this. So you can focus on the right hand or on the left hand just to hear what we've gotten. So that's another one. Bum 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 bum. So plenty of options here, and so I can just basically compare it in my practicing to being as spontaneous, as humorous, as daring with our confidence to have different kinds of embellishments and really make a statement that contradicts itself later when you play it in the repeat. There's a lot of room, and that kind of complete switch on its head of everything that you played before is going to push the piece in a new direction, and this kind of humorous aspect, when coupled with the fermati, gives this an unsettling atmosphere to this work when we go between major and minor, and as we develop these long phrases with lots of different patterns and cycles, this kind of cyclical writing that he's giving us bar after bar after bar after bar, as these melodies repeat and bring us into new ones. So I hope that these 4 points of the game plan can help you imagine your way through the first movement of Haydn's E minor sonata with some comic relief and some enthusiasm and spontaneity. See you in the next lesson.